Welcome back to TT Science Studio, the channel that makes biology simple, clear, and exam ready. Today's topic is one of the very first thing you learn in biology and also one of the most tested. So if you are in a GS1, you are in SS1, this is probably your first biology topic. And if you're revising for WAEC or IGCSE, it is a guarantee mark you don't want to miss. So we are talking about the characteristics of living things. By the end of this video, you will know all 7 characteristics, understand what each one means, and have a memory arc so powerful that you will never forget them even in exam hall. So let's get into it. Here's what we'll achieve together in this video. You'll be able to name all 7 characteristics of living things from memory. You'll be able to explain what each one means in your own word. You will learn the famous memory arc, Mrs. GREN, that ties everything together. And you'll be able to answer any WAEC multiple choice questions on this topic confidently. So let's knock them out one after the other. What makes something alive? Before we name the characteristics, let's think about this question. How do we know if something is alive? A rock doesn't move on its own. A flame looks like it eats fuel and breathes, but we don't call fire alive. So what's the difference? In biology, we say that a characteristic of living thing is a feature or process that all living organisms share. So if something does not have these characteristics, it is considered non-living things. So here are the important rules. All 7 must be present for something to be truly considered alive. WAEC normally loves to test us with tricky questions like this. A virus cannot be classified as living things because it lacks which characteristics? So to answer this question confidently, you must need to know all the 7, and that's exactly what we're about to cover today. Here it is, your golden key to this entire topic. Mrs. GREN. Mrs. GREN. This is a memory acronym. Every letter stands for one of the 7 characteristics of living things. Now let's read through it together. M stands for movement, R stands for respiration, S stands for sensitivity, G stands for growth, R stands for reproduction, E stands for excretion, and N stands for nutrition. So we have it, Mrs. GREN. Now say it aloud with me, Mrs. GREN. Come on, say it again, Mrs. GREN. Now write it in your notebook, Mrs. GREN. And next to each letter, write what it stands for. So this acronym has been used for biology students all over the world for decades. So it works. And once you know it, you will never walk into a characteristic questions unprepared again. Now let's go through it one after the other in details. Movement. The M in Mrs. GREN stands for movement. Movement is the ability to change position or move from one place to another. Now, here is where students often get confused. Movement in biology doesn't only mean walking or running. In animals, movement is usually the whole body moving from one place to another. A bird can fly, a fish can swim, a person can walk. But in plants, movement is slower and more subtle. For example, a flower turning its face to the sun or roots growing downward into the soil. So plants do move, just not the way animals move. Now, example, we have the birds flying, a person working, a sunflower turning towards light. So M means movement. I hope you understand. Let's keep going. Respiration. The first R in Mrs. GREN means respiration. And this is one of the most misunderstood topics in biology. So pay close attention. Respiration is the chemical process that releases energy from food. It happens inside every living cell, whether you are a human or a plant, a bacteria or a fungus. Here is the most important distinction you need to know. Respiration is not the same thing as breathing. Breathing or ventilation is simply the physical movement of air in and out of your lungs. So it's a mechanical process. So respiration is the chemical process that happens inside your cells where glucose and oxygen are combined to release energy. Now, there could be some questions from why I can say which characteristics releases energy from food? The answer is respiration, not breathing. Example, your muscle cell releases energy during exercise. A yeast cell also breaks down sugar to release energy. So, respiration means energy from food, and it happens in every cell of the body. The next one is sensitivity. The S stands for sensitivity. Sensitivity is the ability to detect and respond to changes in the environment. It is also called irritability. So you may see this word in your textbook or um, you may see this in your textbook or WAEC papers. So why is sensitivity important? Because living things need to react to the environment or surroundings to survive. So if you touch a hot surface, your hand pulls back immediately. If a plant is in the shade, it grows towards the light. So all these are responses to changes in the environment. The changes themselves are called stimuli. The singular is stimulus. And the reactions are called responses. So your hand pulling away from heat, that's sensitivity. A plant growing towards light is called phototropism. And a cat's pupil getting smaller in bright lights is another example. So sensitivity, let's look at the memory arc. Sensitivity is seeing and reacting to your environment or your surroundings. So sensitivity is also called irritability. It means detect and respond immediately. The next one, G, stands for growth. Growth is a permanent increase in size or mass. The key word here is permanent. So if you eat a big meal and your stomach expands, that's not growth because it's temporary. True biological growth is permanent. Growth happens because of two processes. Number one, cell division. Cell multiplies in number. Another one is cell enlargement. Individual cells get bigger. Living things grow until a certain stage. For example, humans grow until early adulthood and then stop growing. Example, a child growing into an adult, a seedling growing into a full tree, a caterpillar developing into a butterfly. So sometimes WAEC will ask students to distinguish between growth and movement. Remember, growth is permanent change in size, while movement is a change in position. So growth means permanent increase in size or mass. So the key word there is the permanent increase. The second R in Mrs. GREN stands for reproduction. Reproduction is the ability to produce offspring, that is, young ones or new individual of the same species. Why is it important? Because without reproduction, a species would eventually die out. Reproduction ensures continuity of life. There are two types of reproduction. We have the sexual reproduction, which involves two parents. The offsprings are produced from the combination of genetic materials from both parents. So example, a hen and a rooster producing chicks. Another type of reproduction is their sexual reproduction. It involves only one parent. The offsprings are genetically identical to the parent. Example, a bacterium splitting into two. This is called the binary fission, or a plant producing runners. Example is a hen laying eggs, a bacterium splitting into two, a plant producing seeds. So R stands for reproduction, meaning producing offspring, sexual or asexual. E stands for excretion. And this is another one that students often confuse. So let's be very careful here. Excretion is the removal of waste products that are produced by the body's own chemical reaction or during metabolism. Now, here's a critical distinction. Excretion is not the same thing as egestion. Excretion removing waste products made by the body like carbon dioxide, urea, excess water, sweat. All this is called excretion. Now, egestion, in other words, means removing undigested food from the anus. What we normally call going to the toilet for solid waste. So undigested food was never absorbed into the body. So removing it is called egestion, not excretion. Example of excretion, we have breathing out carbon dioxide, sweating, urinating, removing urea made by the liver. So a person breathes out carbon dioxide, which characteristics is it? So what is the answer? Is it egestion or excretion? The answer is excretion. So not respiration. Respiration is the process that produces the CO2, that's the carbon dioxide, while excretion is the process that removes it. So E stands for excretion, removal of metabolic waste product. The next one, N stands for nutrition. Nutrition is the process of obtaining and using food for energy, growth, and repair. Now, here is an important difference between plants and animals. Plants make their own food through photosynthesis. They use sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water to produce glucose. This is called autotrophic nutrition or self-feeding. So animals cannot make their own food. They have to eat other organisms like plants, other animals, or both. So this is called heterotrophic nutrition, which means feeding on others. Example, a cow grazing on grass, a human eating rice and stew, a plant absorbing sunlight and producing glucose. So if you're being asked which characteristics involves obtaining energy from food, so be careful. It is both nutrition and respiration because they both relate to food and energy. The difference is that nutrition obtains food while respiration releases energy from food. So nutrition, in other words, means getting and using food. Now remember Mrs. GREN as a summary. We've gone through all 7 characteristics. Let's put them all together this final time. Now say with me: M, movement; R, respiration; S, sensitivity; G, growth; R, reproduction; E, excretion; and N, nutrition. We have Mrs. GREN. If you can spell out Mrs. GREN and say what each letter stands for, you have mastered this topic. That's it. It's very straightforward. So write it down, say it out loud, test yourself tomorrow morning. By the time you walk into that exam, Mrs. GREN will be second nature. Okay, it's practice time. Now pause this video if you want to think about this before I give the answer. A person breathed out carbon dioxide. Which characteristics is this? Okay, the answer is excretion. Now, I know what you're thinking. Breathing feels like it should be respiration, but remember what we said. Respiration is the chemical reaction inside the cells that produces the carbon dioxide. So excretion is the removal of that waste product from the body. So breathing out CO2 is the removal of metabolic waste from the body, and that's excretion. So this is one of the most common tricks in biology questions. Now that you know it, you won't fail it again. All right. Another question. A sunflower turns its face towards the sun. Which characteristics is this? Think about it. The answer is sensitivity. Sensitivity, B. Here's why. The sunflower is detecting a change in its environment, where the light is coming from, and is responding to it towards the light. So that is the definition of sensitivity: detecting and responding to a stimulus. You might be tempted to say movement. And yes, the flower does move, but the reason behind the movement is a response to a stimulus, which makes it sensitivity. So you must understand this: movement, changing position, sensitivity, detecting, and responding to the environment. Sometimes they overlap, but the question will always give you enough context to choose the right one. So how did you do it in both questions? Let me know it in the comment. How will you tackle such question? And that is the wrap on characteristics of living things. You know all 7 characteristics, you understand each one deeply, and you have Mrs. Green locked in your memory. If you could say all 7 without looking, you are ready for any exam question on this topic. So if this video helped you, please like, share with your classmates, and subscribe to TT Science Studio. Every like and share helps this channel reach more students who needs it. You have a topic you want me to cover, please leave a comment in the comment section. And for one-on-one tutoring, send a message, send an email to me on the email on your screen. Until next time, study smart, stay consistent, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.